Go to now item number 12.9, discussion update on school fields. Only for discussion only, no vote. And I'm in.
Great, thank you. Happy to provide this presentation on our fields, and our Director of Operations is also available as we go through this to answer any questions. So would like to provide a little bit of background and overview to our fields. We'll look at the current status of it and some of our staffing and some comparisons to some standards that we have looked at. And then we also want to discuss the current planned reconditioning projects. And within that, we'll also look at, there's been some discussion and looking at options to add a cricket field to our schools. And then we'll look at future projects and options, and the board can provide direction to staff as well. So we have 15 campuses, that's over 245 acres and over close to 2.5 million square feet of field space. And our fields get used every day by our PE programs and by our sports programs, and they're community assets and used by the community as well. Over the years, unfortunately, due to a variety of financial constraints, our fields are not in the best of conditions, and we've struggled to maintain and that's why we're here and we're having these discussions. Prior to the construction of Patelco Field, the city, through the user groups, did support the district in funding some of our maintenance of our fields. And so when Patelco Field was built, some of that funding went away. Additionally, the Great Recession also impacted our routine restricted maintenance funds. And so our maintenance department was also impacted, and that restorations of funds just occurred last year. Last year was the first year that the maintenance department received its full 3% to be able to keep up all the facilities and grounds. So we are committed to improving our facilities and our fields, and we want to work both with the city and other partners to look at increasing our resources and to achieve that goal. To that effort, back in May, we worked again with our landscape architect and the city to evaluate 7 of our school fields. In our field, the other kind of challenge that we faced is that, with COVID, the pandemic, and also the air quality, some of our own ability to get our crews out there had also been impacted. So there's some compounding issues going on as well. So this chart right here really shows, let me get the pointer going. These are our elementary schools, middle and high schools. These are the size of the campuses. You'll see obviously the middle schools and high schools are much larger, but we do have like a Donlin, which is almost 20 acres. And depending on, again, what's going on, the field space varies. You have more which really shares a park and doesn't have field space. While again, some of our high schools and middle schools have very large fields and are very large campuses. And so these very large campuses like Pleasanton Middle School, not only does it have a great deal amount of field, but the amount of grounds it has and the amount of landscaping in both the front and the back and the sides is really extensive. And certain schools like Pleasanton Middle School will take a great deal more of manpower to be able to maintain. Through the analysis with the city and ourselves, we've kind of looked at the fields and ranked them either in fair, poor, or good condition. And in some of our high schools, we do have some of our fields that are in good condition, but they still need further maintenance and repair work. We do have the 2 synthetic fields at Amador and Foothill, which are used by our outside organizations, and there are joint use with the city. And also Harvest Park is also utilized by outside organizations. At this time, due to the condition, we don't have outside users using our other fields. Some of our fields are available to the public in terms of the way they're fenced. And so this was an ask that the board had, and we gathered this data, and we are now going to work as a facility team to look at the other school sites and see what type of modification would be needed to provide public access during non-school hours. This is our playgrounds. Obviously, our high school and middle schools don't have playground spaces, but the elementaries do. And currently, the way the schools are fenced, we've restricted access, to protect the schools, both for when schools are in session and also during the weekends and after school from vandalism. But that's something that we can also take a look at as well. In terms of our staffing, we have 6 positions, 5 which are currently filled, and we have 1 vacancy that we have been trying to fill for, I think, a good year. We've really struggled to find qualified individuals for that. We did have a retirement that we were able to fill, but we still are struggling to fill it. And I know that in speaking to the city, they're also struggling to fill 2 of their vacancies as well. So this is, I think, something that, a challenge we're all facing. We did look at standards. We looked at a recent FCMAT report that was done on the Anaheim School District, where they looked at their staffing ratios, and using that FCMAT report, which is based on Florida's Department of Education, that they're recommending that the number of groundskeepers, looking at a total acreage, dividing that by 40, looking at a total square feet of field space, dividing that by 500,000 and adding additional, would bring the district to what they're indicating it needing about 12.29 FTE. So, we're based on this formula, we are short-staffed. And I think that the challenges we're having out there reflect that short staffing. So what we're doing is we are putting some packages, and some of those packages are out, and we're evaluating the bids, and hopefully we'll soon get some projects going at some of our schools, is to start to do some reconditioning and repairing the fields that are in the condition that can be brought back. And so we're looking at aggressive rodent control, and that's something we're starting immediately, because we want to get those rodents under control, so that once we do the field work, they're not going to get damaged again. And we got weeding, aeration, topsoil, seeding, overseeding, sod installation where they're bare, irrigation repair, and other repairs. So this is something that we want to do for the fields that are in the condition that can handle it. So these have been identified as our fall-winter projects, and utilizing the pandemic with sports kind of being put off until after January as a good opportunity to move those projects forward, and then looking at the spring, summer for the remaining campuses. Leidixon will see a new field with the construction or reconstruction of that campus. And then at PMS, due to the condition of the field, it's not in a condition that can be reconditioned. And so we have to look at a replacement, and we're looking at those options of how we can replace the PMS field. So this is a sample of what the work scope looks like. We've identified areas where we got to do some weeding, areas where the sod would be installed and overseeding would occur. And so this is at Amador Valley. And so obviously both the baseball fields and the softball fields are included in that package. So one of the discussions we've had within the last few months, and this is one of the areas that actually we're looking at some type of public partnership in terms of fundraising, is working with some of our community members with We Are Pleasanton. And Todd at Sidetrack has been really influential in kind of putting that together and looking at the potential of doing synthetic at our two middle school campuses, Hart and at Pleasanton Middle School. And those are the campuses that the fields are in the worst condition, Pleasanton Middle School being really in dire situation, and that their location, the attraction to the geese and some of the other things really lend itself well to go synthetic. So there's a lot of benefits with that. The fields will get used much more. They can be used all year into winter as well, and they can be used for longer hours. However, those would be expensive projects. We're in the preliminary stages of putting together some cost estimates, and depending on the amenities, again, those are more expensive projects, but hopefully we're hoping that with public-private partnerships and looking at, maybe the city as well, we might be able to put something together. So again, this is in the early phases of the planning, but I am hopeful that something positive will develop. We do want to talk about cricket, and before we kind of jump into cricket, I thought it'd be interesting to learn a little bit more about the sport. So there is a little video that we can take a look at. It'll just take a few minutes. But cricket is a growing sport in the community. It is, Pleasanton doesn't have any cricket fields. There are other cricket fields around us in Fremont and in San Ramon. But it's something that I think that has been approached to us for the last several years. And we did some work in PMS, but unfortunately, due to the condition of that field and some of the gopher issues, it was not able to get completed. So we are looking at a potential at Harvest Park, and I'm going to go into some of the details. But I thought it'd be interesting for everyone to kind of get a sense of what the potential cricket field or sport looks like. So there's just this little video clip that we can watch, and it'll give a sense of that sport.
Cricket is a sport that is played by millions and loved by billions of people from all corners of the globe. Cricket has been played for centuries, with the first international match occurring way back in 1844. From that time, it has continued to develop into the vibrant and exciting modern game that is played today. Cricket is a bat and ball sport that involves two teams with 11 players on each side. The aim of the game is to score more runs than the opposition. One player, the bowler, bowls a hard leather ball that speeds at up to 150 kilometers per hour at a player from the opposing team, who then attempts to hit it with the bat in order to score runs. Cricket is played on an oval-shaped field, and in the middle of that field is the pitch, which is where most of the action takes place. At either end of the pitch, you'll find these things. They're called wickets, and they're made up of 3 wooden stumps that support 2 bails. They're important, but we'll come back to them shortly. The batting team has 2 batters at a time in play, whilst the fielding side has all 11 players on the field. A batter scores runs in 2 ways. 1, they hit the ball far enough that it crosses the outer boundary of the field. If the ball has bounced, it's worth 4 runs. If it clears the boundary on the full, it's worth 6.
So I think that provides a good kind of understanding of the game and some of the how it gets played and how it feels and the size of the field as well. And so we have again been talking to some of our community members who have shown interest in growing the sport, and in particular, we took some time looking at can this field be added at Harvest Park Middle School? And the reason was the field is a large field. It's centrally located in the city, and we were hoping to see if that could be an option. The idea we originally looked at was to put an east-west cricket field so that there would be two good-sized soccer fields or lacrosse fields on either side, and the area of the pitch would be outside of those play areas. The other thing that we wanted to look at is to put a synthetic material that would be durable, more of a harder synthetic material that would be more durable than natural grass, because there's a lot of play that occurs on the pitch. So we did look at that option. We toured a couple of local schools in our area to see how that would work, and so there are some concerns that have been raised by the PE department in terms of the potential impacts to the PE program and classroom space, which is the field, particularly the dissimilar material that you have in the field, and how that would potentially impact the other sports that are being played. And especially if the pitch is put in a north-south orientation, which is favorable to the sunlight, it would have a larger impact, and if you were going to run the fields this way, it would narrow it down. So there are some constraints here that need to be considered. Fortunately, this is a very large field, and there's a second field with a track also at Harvest Park. So that is something that we've looked at, and we've estimated potentially that pitch costing somewhere between $50,000 to $60,000. There are other alternatives that are being explored, and specifically, if it was designed into a Pleasanton middle school, that could be an option, or maybe at Hart Middle School, and maybe even looking at another campus like Alisal, which has a large field and doesn't have the same physical PE program that our middle schools have. This is a cricket field. Again, this is a synthetic option that was recently completed at Fremont, and you can see the two large soccer fields, or it could be a lacrosse field, and they put that pitch in the middle, and then you can see the size of the field for cricket. They're pretty large fields when you look at that oval shaped field. So it does make it a little bit challenging when you combine it with some other sports. We did look at Gale Ranch Middle School. This field is smaller than what we have at Harvest Park, and it has two pretty good size baseball or softball fields in it. And they kind of put their pitch at an angle in the middle in what is a natural turf. And then to the right, you can see the natural turf. And this is a harder surface, a synthetic harder surface that they play the pitch at. So again, that's what they have done at Gale Middle Ranch School. So there are various options, both at Harvest Park, looking at its orientation, designing the cricket into a future field, either or incorporating it at Alisal. And those are all options. In addition, our local cricket club has indicated that there's interest in potentially donating to that improvement, and they'd like to see some kind of credit for future facility use in return for that donation. So finally, just a few next steps. We're in the process of reviewing our bids, and hopefully we'll have some projects awarded in the next board meeting, so we can move forward for the reconditioning projects. We need some feedback from the board members on the cricket field and which direction we should go, and then we'll continue working on the remainder of the fields and making sure those are repaired. We're also looking at how are we going to maintain the fields once they have improved, and either looking at increasing in our groundskeeping staff, and or partnering with the city in some joint use efforts where they could maintain the fields, but then actually utilize them for their user groups after school hours. So there are a couple of different opportunities we have to look at improving our maintenance of our fields. So with that, be happy to answer any questions.
Ahmed, what's the condition of Alice Al's field?
Alice Al's field, let me go back to it. I know that it does have some, gopher issues, but it was one of our better fields in the past. I think we've put it at fair. I think it was one of our larger fields that previous to Patelco being built, it was one of the fields that would have practice and use from outside user groups. However, I think it does need a reconditioning project and again, management of our gophers, and making sure that they don't expand, and then, doing the reconditioning. So it's in fair condition, but it does need maintenance.
Could it be moved up onto the switch of one of the schools to go first, or is that not advisable?
Yeah, I think that we could look at either that or adding it because fortunately we do have the informal bid process that allows us to bid those in a quicker, and we also can whoever are the contractors who are interested, we can have discussions with them as well.
Yeah, because I don't want to happen like, I know that the cricket clubs donated money before, and of course, poor PMS just went, before your time certainly, but just is horrible, and that's wasted money, quite frankly. But and I know that Harvest Park staff has some concerns about. What did they say about when you talked about the diagrams that you showed? Did they have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think that I think their preference is not to have any dissimilar material, so that the entire field is available, and so students don't have to worry about boundaries and stuff. The north-south would be the most impactful to that, but the east-west would be less. But I think that from what they convey to us, that they would rather see no type of dissimilar material. They feel that they already have activities within their PE program that introduce the cricket sport to their students, not in a full traditional way we saw it, but in terms of learning the sport and having those opportunities. And that the traditional cricket is really an after-school sport, and that their focus is on physical development and that stuff.
Do you think we could make the Alice Al area as good as the Harvest Park area if we've refurbished it and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that Alice, all our fields should be in good condition. No field should be in poor or even fair condition. I think that our goal and our all should be bringing our fields to good condition, and so if we want to look at expanding cricket and bringing a field, and that's the location we feel that's best, then we would have to accomplish it with a good field.
I just have another factor I think we should be looking at. A cricket field at Alice Al, I think, is problematic from a parking perspective. I mean, you'd have tournaments. It would be, very popular, and Harvest Park, any of the middle schools have much more parking available for, weekend and after school kinds of activities. Whereas Alice Al, you'd end up with people, they wouldn't even want to park out in the small parking lot out front and walk to the back of the field. They'd be parking in the neighborhood back there, and that would be a big impact on the neighborhood. And so that's another issue I kind of have with Alice Al. And I can appreciate the the concerns that the staff have at Harvest Park, but, you know, this is a sport that, a growing number of our community would really like to participate in. And similar to when we brought lacrosse to Pleasanton, that was, maybe didn't require a redoing of the fields. I get that, but that was played, after school first, and then it was incorporated into our PE programs. So I'm hoping that, we can come to some, a good agreement on offering this to our community and our students.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mark.
no, I was just going to say, I absolutely, support the whole concept of redoing improving our fields and doing what we need to do. And I am concerned about the upkeep side of it. And, you can fix it once, but if we don't commit to keeping them in shape, it's basically, as Trustee Maher said, it's going to be money down the drain. We need to do that. But I also think we need to make it a priority to get a cricket pitch in place, a first priority. And because it is such an important and popular sport in our community. And I don't know, Joan, if, so we used to play soccer at Alisal all the time, and maybe not, probably about the same number of people. And I don't remember there being really any issue from a parking perspective. Yeah, it was okay. I am sympathetic to the Harvest Park community around putting that, synthetic turf in the middle in the north-south direction, because you really do eliminate its possibility of use for lacrosse or soccer or anything else, because you can't put two narrow fields on the sides. That's not going to work. So I think, Trustee Maher, where you're going is prioritize Alisal, prioritize it as a cricket pitch, and get going with that. To me seems like the best option, honestly.
Unless there's another site, but I can't read.
Well, I don't know why the Pleasanton Sports Park isn't an option, but I guess I'm trusting that the cricket club has investigated that, and there's a reason why that isn't. But that's a huge field. I know it's used by millions of sports and all that kind of stuff, but we also added Patelco. So
there's not really enough parking, but Upper Burnell, of course, we lease that out. But
that's too small.
Yeah, too small.
Too small. Yeah. Anyway, that's my thought on that.
Okay, good thought.
Yeah, Steve, I just had, I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm not a sports expert by any stretch. So I'm trying to see how it does impact soccer, because to me, it doesn't look like it would. And from the little video we saw, it looks like it can be accommodated on a soccer field. Am I missing something here?
I guess they're concerned with the two different surfaces.
Two different surfaces, yeah.
But it's right in the center between two, right?
Well, at Harvest Park, the field is situated such that if they do it east-west, you could still have two soccer fields. But then you're running into the sun situation. If you do north-south, the fields are too narrow to be soccer fields.
Okay, so if we did the east-west, that wouldn't impact other sports as much. Okay.
Right.
And I think I kind of to Joan's point about having, this is gaining popularity, cricket, and including it as part of our PE curriculum, I think would be a great thing if we did put it on the Harvest Park field. I think that would be something that would benefit our students as well. So I would be in favor of that. And, the fact that the cricket groups are willing to fund, I think that's huge. I know the maintenance piece also is important, and we have to figure that out. But I don't know. I see a lot of positives to this at Harvest Park. So I did have one other question too with the maintenance. With it kind of goes in general though with fields, with water. I know the city has started with their purple pipes and has done some of the recycled water in the purple pipes in the Hacienda Business Park and some of the parks in that area. Has there been any talk with the city on what their plans are to expand that? So possibly some of our parks, or our schools, I should say, our school fields can tap into the recycled water?
That's a good point. Would have to talk to the city to see where, the recycled water lines run and if we're able to tap into it. But I know that, for like golf courses and other major areas, they do that. So that's something that we'll put on our list to discuss with the city.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I know there's a lot of logistics to figure out with that and all, but
Yeah.
that would be something, gosh, if we could do that all over town, I'd really advocate for that. But that's something to maybe think about, because that could really help us with the watering issue.
Correct.
Okay, so that's all I have.
Yeah,
We have to go. We might have public input. So.
Do we have any public comments? Jamie might want to say something too.
Really? Yeah, I think I do.
Well, at least
So, Ahmed, I think you said this, but which of our fields can actually, accommodate the cricket pitch and not impact baseball or soccer? And I think it's PMS, right? Like that's our widest field.
Yeah, I think that we've done some preliminary work with one of our with our landscape architect. She's actually working pro bono for helping out with the We Are Pleasanton group, and that looks to be the most promising to do something like you saw at the Fremont complex, where everything is synthetic, and then it's pretty large enough to then fully take it on. All our other sites, again, it's a different field configuration, and that's what's a little bit challenging with the cricket.
Yeah, I can understand how the current club and the organizers really want to get something done fast. They've been waiting so patiently, but I just feel like because this is such an up and coming thing for our community, I don't want us to do something that's just sort of like, oh, quick, let's put it somewhere. I mean, it's got to be something that we invest in and make it look good and it's accessible, and a field where we can put lights up, right? Because, this would be great. I mean, then it can get more utilization. And AstroTurf is better because we don't have to worry about water. There's a maintenance issue, but we don't have to worry about water. And I mean, I love the way the Gale Ranch one looks and the way that the Fremont one looks. I mean, I just feel like we need to be more prideful and have something that looks amazing and where everybody can be proud of how the field looks. An afterthought of like, oh, let's just stick it at Alisal, or, it's not really the best at Harvest Park and we displace a lot of the other programming. And that really becomes a safety issue at Harvest Park because of the way the configuration, right? It just wouldn't, that's the one thing I agree with the PE teachers, it would be a safety issue. So, if we were to do it at PMS, what would be the time frame? What would be the logistics? And do we have enough money to do it?
Well, no, we don't have enough money to do it right now. So it's going to require us to, look at our partners, both the city, both the user groups, and to look at, all our funding sources and say, like, how do we prioritize this with the funds we have? And so the answer to that is, at this point, we don't have funds that could, bring PMS to a full synthetic field. But I think for these reconditioning projects and being able to either look at Alisal or Harvest Park and finding, an opportunity to bring cricket into those, I think we have funds there. But to bring it either to PMS or to Harvest Heart would require, significant investment.
Okay, so then let's say we do it at Harvest Park, right? Because that's what the club wants. But then the PE teachers won't be happy. So then what do we do about that?
Correct, and I think that's why the Alisal option is one, or we go back to the drawing board again, and that could include some longer term planning. That, and it's unfortunate, but we're in this kind of a pickle, right? And I really think that, working with the city, we have to come up with a solution because they have a lot more land and a lot more parks than we do.
Yeah. What would it take to get LSL ready to do a pitch? Like how much time would it take and what would it cost? I think you already said that.
Yeah, I think it would take about the same that you're seeing in some of our other elementary schools, probably about 50 to 60,000 in terms of reconditioning and just resodding and getting rid of the issues that we have. And the pitch itself is another 50 to 60,000, which the club has indicated that they are willing to support.
And to do a whole new fancy field at PMS with lights, and what is that price tag?
Well, lights are another that they would require us probably to do significant community outreach, especially in that area because there are some housing projects there. But it's probably a project of about $4 to $5 million.
Okay, we need to move because we're running out of time. So maybe not to stop the board short, but are there any comments at all, Patrick, public?
Yes, President Maher, I do want to make sure that we make time for Ramesh Amati and as well as AJ Amati, who stuck around for public comment for this item.
Okay. Well, we got to go because we're running out of time here.
All right, Ramesh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for giving me an opportunity. And first of all, I'm on the call for 4 hours and I can't imagine how much hard work and community services each of you are doing. But in the sessions, I really wholeheartedly appreciate more than before after listening to the session and sitting here. Having said that, I want to, this is Ramesh Amati, and I'm the founder and president of the local nonprofit organization called Cricket for Cubs, and established 5 years back to promote cricket. And just to give you an idea, 5 years back, we only had 20 to 25 kids in the whole Tri-Valley. And fast forward 5 years, currently before COVID, we had 20 to 25 schools in the whole Tri-Valley with more than 2,000 kids playing this cricket every week with cricket as a PE in 3 school districts. And I'm really proud to say that the youngest woman cricketer in the USA national team is part of our club. So having said that, I want to request you guys to consider a cricket pitch on an accelerated path. And I would like to take this opportunity to kind of answer Mark Miller's question about would we consider work with city. I worked with city for 3 years, long years, and had a draft agreement, and we pulled it back when city said school kids cannot be put on these fields, nor we can rent the fields for school tournaments. That is when we pulled the agreement out, and we can't say that our board disapproved to invest any money if school kids are not allowed on the city parks, which city made it very clear, saying that no school tournaments are allowed on the city fields. And also about PMS, just to relay the field, the quote came to 1.2 million. And I really don't want to wait for another 5 to 10 years to get this cricket field anywhere in the city. It is so discouraging for me to not have this field after so many years when other school districts have 2 to 3 fields in adjacent school districts, and we are continuously time and again depriving our community where 30% of our kids are from cricket playing nations, and these kids are deprived for years and years. And it's very disheartening to see that not having cricket field in the community. And I hope you guys kind of hear the sentiment of the community and help get the cricket pitch in the community and help us grow this cricket. And with that, I will stop that. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. We have one more, Patrick.
Yes. AJ Amati, are you with us? Go ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Hi, my name is Audrey Amati, and I attend Imanor Valley High School, and I serve on the youth commission. I've been playing cricket for the past 8 years, and I'm a board member of Cricket for Cubs. When I was at Harvest Park Middle School, I started the cricket club in 6th grade, and we won 3 championships as a team, competing against schools in San Ramon and Dublin, such as Windermere Ranch Middle School and Gale Ranch Middle School, which have a cricket pitch in their schools where they practice. We need a cricket pitch here in Pleasanton because it will help students here learn and enjoy the sport of cricket, which is growing rapidly here in the Tri-Valley area. I have played with and against multiple players who are in the minor league hosted by USA Cricket and a USA women's team member, all of which go to schools in San Ramon and Dublin, where they have infrastructure for cricket. Cricket for Cubs as an organization has hosted inter-school tournaments and international tournaments here in Pleasanton at Patelco Sports Park on the soccer field, whereas in Dublin and San Ramon, we host games and cricket pitches. Having a cricket pitch here in Pleasanton will help students in Pleasanton enhance their skills close to home instead of traveling 30 to 45 minutes in order to get practice elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, because we're just about out of time, how would you, trustees, you have any suggestions about the last 4 items? Or this was just discussion, no vote or anything on this last item. Ahmad, David, how would you like to proceed?
I think I've heard feedback, and I think that gives staff enough information to go back and then come up with a recommendation for to the board.
Great. Okay. Okay, can we move some of these, Julio, to vote all on one cup, some of them?
That would be my recommendation.
Blue sheeted, right?
President Maher, yes, they are blue sheeted.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I will do my best to move this as speedily as possible. It goes without saying that COVID-19 has provided us a multitude of challenges. One of those challenges is the difference among our employees about reporting physically to work. And it is a challenge, but I want the board and community to understand that I am working closely with our associations to address that and other challenges. I speak and communicate multiple times with President APT, Michelle Verkeilen, and President of CSCA, Laura Martinez, to address many issues. And it goes without saying that we don't agree on everything, but we do agree that we are in this together. And we're doing our best that we can as we navigate through these challenges. And in that spirit is the reason why these items are blue sheeted. CSCA recommended that we change the classification of the unit from classified hourly to non-bargaining unit members. And that was a suggestion that CSCA provided, and we were willing to blue sheet it and change that for all 3 of these classifications. These job descriptions have some changes in them. They provide the ability in 12.11 to provide support for our students who may be vulnerable and are not engaged or are needing support for the general educational courses. One of the things that's different is that this job description will allow them to actually work physically at our school sites, but also at the students' homes. Again, trying to provide another opportunity to provide that support to our parents who are in desperate need of getting different types of support. The other thing is that these positions, all 3 of them, will require the individual to either possess a California Teaching Commission on Teaching Credentialing supervision certificate. Either they must possess it or be willing to obtain it. And what that certificate allows them to do is that they get registered with CCTC, which is a teacher credentialing, but it allows a classified member to be able to be working by themselves with our students without a certificated person present with them. So that's a huge difference. So those would be the 2 differences that are primary. Be able to work at students' homes, be able to work with them independently without a credentialed person being present. and obviously be able to work physically at our school sites. President Maher, if I could go to 12.12. The difference between 12.11 and 12.12 is that this position primarily addresses special education, students with special needs. But again, the same thing, the certificate from the commission, it's important because the screening is different as far as the finger screening and vetting that's happens with our certificated people will happen also with our classified people with this certificate. Again, this classification of employee will also be able to work at people's homes. And the 12.13 position is a bilingual position to be able to support our students who are English learners. Again, also have the ability to work from home, also have the ability to obtain or have the certificate from the teaching commission.
You mean 12?
Those are the
12.12.
12.12.
Not 13.
Excuse me, 12.12, I apologize.
12.11 must be the special ed one.
Yes, I'm sorry, I messed up the, but there's one classification for general ed, one classification for our special needs students, and the other classification is to address our students who are English language learners.
12.10, 12.11, 12.12. Any questions for Mr. Hernandez? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and move approval of 12.10, 12.11, and 12.12.
Was there public comment, Steve?
I didn't see one. Is there supposed to be public comment on this?
I don't know. I just thought we should find out.
Oh, you mean was there public? I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on this, Patrick? What time is it, Joan? Patrick? Wake up, Patrick. Patrick?
There's no one in the room.
Please
No
don't.
public comment tonight.
Okay, no more? Okay,
No more.
okay. Any questions? I thought I might have heard something.
I made the motion.
Oh, okay. A second?
I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Arkin?
Aye.
Trustee Larson?
Aye.
Trustee Yee?
Aye.
And Trustee Maher, aye. Okay, it passes. 12.13, our last one. Julio? Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The last item is there's a recommendation to improve the salary schedule for the position of the administrative assistant to the superintendent. That job description has been improved. It was approved by the board at the last board meeting. It did add any number of new functions to that position to merit the elevation, which is an elevation on the average of $3,000 per cell as it goes from range 1 to 6. So it is not, it's $3,000 on the average.
I think too, Mr. Hernandez, if you look at other positions similar in other districts, ours was at the bottom.
We are not competitive in this position. I would also argue in others, but most definitely in this position. It has been a challenge to recruit. We've posted this now twice. We've gone through the process twice, and we have, again, not been able to obtain a candidate.
Well, we weren't competitive.
That would be one of the challenges, yes.
Okay. Questions? A motion?
I'll move approval of 12.13.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Miller?
Aye.
Trustee Larson?
Aye.
Trustee Arkin?
Aye.
Trustee Yee?
Aye.
And Trustee Maher, aye. It passes. Okay, any 13 board reports or requests? Hearing none.
That next time's agenda not be as long.
Yeah, right.
We got spoiled getting done by 10 o'clock. This 11:30 stuff is
Our
great.
superintendent owes us dinner or something.
Yeah, a lot of good things on tonight.
Socially distanced dinner.
DoorDash to all of our houses.
Okay. Upcoming board meeting will be on Thursday, October 8th, 2020. And with this, we adjourn at 11:25.